Another edition of Riding Home. Thanks to everybody for listening. If you're joining us on all of our many platforms, we appreciate it. We're most thankful for the subscribers on Dawg Post. You can get a subscription right now to the site for $2 for 2 months. This is very rare, and quite frankly, it's running out of time. Matt, we're running out of time before the season gets here. So let's talk about the Dogs.
Finally, right? Enough COVID talk, enough of talking about if the season's going to happen. It is here, Dean, 5 days away, and we know that Georgia's kicking off against Arkansas. Old pal Sam Pittman leading the Razorbacks. Really tough spot for him. Georgia should handle this game easily, but all the talk is going to be about the quarterbacks, who starts, how do they play, how many play. So that's kind of the big deal happening right now, what Kirby's kind of been talking about. Kind of where do you think things stand right now without Jamie Newman, JT Daniels still not cleared to play? I guess it really is Dwan Mathis's time to shine, right?
Seems like it, and I'm not sure if it would matter if Daniels was completely cleared anyway. I think it's been trending towards Mathis. Kirby should know by now that it's very hard to keep secrets. He did a good job of keeping secrets on those uniforms, but keeping secrets on what happens during a game or before a game, it's just impossible to ask. There's hundreds of people around that program, and there's no doubt that this has been trickling out for a while, and it's certainly full blown now. I expect Mathis to start at least. I don't know any other reason why he wouldn't, and then I'm expecting them to score some points.
See, I think the offense is going to start a little bit slow. I said that with Jamie Newman too, just because I think new offensive line, 4 new starters, a new offensive coordinator, new scheme, new quarterback. I just thought it would take a few weeks for them to start clicking. Now, this team could still score in the late 20s and still win most of their ball games. They don't have to blow anyone out. I don't think they're going to be in a lot of big shootout type of games. But I do think it might take them a little bit to really get going, especially if they can't get that run game going. I like the backs they have. But if they don't get that running game going and have to rely on a guy like Dwan Mathis, I think they could see their struggles. But you think that this offense will be perfectly fine and ready to go?
Well, I don't know about perfectly fine, but they're not returning one starter on the offensive line. They're returning at least not fewer than 2, Trey Hill and Ben Cleveland. Yeah. If you want to call Jamari a starter or Justin Schaefer a starter, I'm not going to put up a giant fight. They're not returning what they had, that's for sure.
Right.
Now, Las Vegas sees this game somewhere around 39-12. Does that sound like too many points to you?
Little bit. I was saying, I'm thinking 35-7, something like that.
I'm not sure there's a what's the accounting term? I'm not sure there's a real difference there between those two that I just said. 35-7, that would be a disappointment, do you think, for
it might be to other fans. That's exactly what I'm expecting. So I think that's kind of what it's going to be. Would that be covering the spread? I don't know what the spread is now.
What is it? 35-7? Yes, barely for now.
Okay.
The line is almost up to 27 of late. So
I guess I see Georgia winning by 28 then.
So then that's the cover. I mean, I don't think there's a lot to complain about if you cover the line that big. Yeah. Look, here's the thing about the Hogs. There's a subscription that just came in that must be hearing us. As the season went on, they had a harder and harder time, it feels like, stopping folks. They did lose to Missouri, and they held them to 24. But I mean, LSU scored at will, 56 points. Western Kentucky scored 45. Mississippi State with 54. Alabama 48. Auburn with 51. I know, Ryan Jordan's been around the block for a while, and a lot of our posters have, but this Larry Munson creeps in, and what will happen is that no matter what Georgia does, there will be a lot to clean up. But last year, this was an excruciatingly bad Arkansas team. I mean, a team that barely beat Portland State, a team that lost to San Jose State, and also lost to Western Kentucky. They're not going to be in the same universe as Georgia. That line should just looking at this off the cuff, it probably should be higher than 24.5. But it's creeping that way.
Yeah, I definitely don't see them going 51-7 or 51-3. I think once they're able to cover the game and get out of there, Kirby's not going to put his foot on Sam Pittman's throat. I don't think it's going to be embarrassing. I think they're going to really run that ball in the third and fourth quarter.
Oh, yeah.
The game should be well away at halftime. That's what we're all expecting. And I think from there, he'll probably put it on cruise control. You don't want to make Sam Pittman look bad out there. And again, his team is bad. This is a bad Arkansas team. There's no way around it.
Well, and let me just interject this too, Matt, which is that if this is a Georgia team that's going to challenge for the national championship, and you had Ohio State come in here lately, but Georgia's a top 4 or 5 team in the country. They're not going to goof around with Arkansas. If they do, you've got a real problem on your hands. I don't see it. I mean, I don't see it myself, but that's me.
I think a lot of it is just week one sloppiness and jitters too. I think that'll go into it a little bit.
It's been a negative year, generally speaking. I mean, 2020 has been rough for people. So I get it, and Georgia fans are really good at being negative, but they need to let's just transition to the offense here, man. What do you see there on that front?
I'm looking forward to not only the offensive line, seeing how big of a difference it is losing Andrew Thomas and Isaiah Wilson at tackle. How can Jamari slide in and fill that role? But again, something we've been talking about for a while now is the receivers. I love Jermaine Burton, always have. We'll see if he can climb that ladder and start playing more. But a guy like Kyrus Jackson.
What did you make of Kyrus today?
I didn't see that when I started writing the other story. I forgot they were going right behind. But I know him well enough, covered him in high school. He's a guy who says a lot of the right things. He's mature, and I think he's hungry. I think this is his time. I think one of his quotes said that I needed to play. A lot of our guys needed this season. And again, if he wants to play in the NFL, this is year 3 for him, I think. He is a junior. So he's got to get out there. He's got to make plays. And again, there's a lot of veterans there. Does Demetrius Robertson get the same type of playing time he did last year, more or less? Matt Landers, does he get more or less playing time? Kyrus Jackson's still going to be there.
There's some significant competition at receiver. I mean,
yeah.
That's just all there is to it. When you look at the freshmen that were brought in, now you lose Blaylock, that hurts. I mean, if you were to lose Pickens somehow this season, that would really, really hurt you. Probably, I don't know if it'd cost you the conference, but it would feel like it at the time. Then again, you say that without seeing really what Jermaine is going to do on the outside. I've been told he's really good. I mean, at Georgia so far. So we'll just see. You have to take everything that people say during the summer. It's just you can't believe everything you hear in the summer. Technically, even though it's getting cold, it's still the summer to me, at least.
I'll say this, Dean. Something else that I want to see is the tight end position. I was wondering if someone was going to ask Kirby about Trey McKitty today. He didn't, so I don't know if he is going to be able to play or not on Saturday. But Darnell Washington has talent. He's got a frame. If the kid can put it together on and off the field and get in shape, I think he could be a big weapon for this offense. There are not a lot of guys like him, and when I went to fly out to see him, he was really good. He played against some bad kids, bad opponent, but he was a man amongst boys out there. And I left thinking, this kid, if he gets it together and keeps developing in a place like Georgia, I think he could be really, really good. I don't know how much he'll play as a freshman.
Well, I think he's going to play.
If Trey McKitty's out, the opportunity there for Darnell is even bigger. So I don't know where he's at in terms of his conditioning now. I know a few weeks ago he needed to improve that drastically. I don't know if he has yet or not, but he's a guy who I think they could need down the road, especially at tight end. So definitely something I want to see there.
Zamir, I've got something later on our social networks about Zamir. It's not do or die time. This is going to probably be Zamir's last year at Georgia, so it is kind of when you're in silver britches or white britches as it were. This is the time to do it if you're going to do it. I'm expecting Zamir to really go. I'm expecting this offense to be better than most people are. I know David Pollock is more. David is more. Aaron Murray is more controlled with his statements in terms of what he sees and so forth from guys. David is more hyperbolic, but they both are on the same page and so is Matt Stinchcomb. I mean, who's certainly not hyperbolic. But all those guys, I mean, you're talking about 3 former All-Americans essentially at Georgia. Very good players that know what it's like. And to see all 3 say, hey, it looks like it's Mathis and they're really good, and he's really good, it doesn't, it makes sense to me. I can't remember when someone first started talking to me about Mathis. It was in August. I'm trying to remember. I said it to you. You don't need to say who that was, by the way. But let's not do that. But that may have been early September. Now that I think about it, but their view was, hey, this is probably going to be his deal. And you wrote earlier today that you felt like it may have been a blessing in disguise that Newman had the foot injury. Take it from there.
Yeah, the sprained foot happened during minicamp, happened this summer, and if that didn't happen, he probably takes all the reps in minicamp. He gets the offense down a little better, builds chemistry with the receivers, all that, and who knows, he might have been the number 1 guy heading into September, and he might still be on the team. He hurts the foot. He's out a significant amount of time, is what we were told, like half of minicamp, and that gives guys like Dwan Mathis, Carson Beck, and JT some opportunity to get some reps with the ones, and I think Dwan, probably more than the other guys, took advantage of that.
And the other thing on that front too is, Mathis is Mathis for sure, and Carson to some degree, both are much more like Jamie Newman than JT Daniels is, and so it may be that the void that was filled by Jamie being gone is what Mathis filled in, and I think to some degree the thinking was as well, hey, how much can we really expect Jamie Newman to be the guy? And they've been planning for that and planning for that and planning for that for the most part for the last 7 months, and then all of a sudden he gets here, he doesn't nail the job down, then he's gone. It's like, well, oh shit, where are we going? And then Mathis is maybe the best guy to fill that spot. And by the way, people say he's the best overall talent.
And that might be right, but I know for sure Kirby is glad that Mathis and those guys got those reps early on in minicamp, because it had to have made them a better player. We know Mathis has developed physically for sure. He's gotten bigger in the arms. He's put on muscle, and that's what he needed to do when he got to Georgia. But it does seem like he's picking up the playbook a little bit more each and every day, each practice, and that is what needed to happen, I think, for him to ultimately win the job. He has to get the playbook down. He's doing all the right things. The arm's getting better, and again, he's putting more muscle on. But if you don't know what you're doing out there, you're not going to play. It definitely seems like he's taken that big step forward on learning the playbook and understanding what he's doing out there. And again, Todd Monken's offense is an NFL offense. It's complicated.
Well, Kieran Jackson said today that it was simple. Maybe it is.
He's a smart dude. But
I know.
We had a player last week tell us how difficult it was.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was George or someone else, but it'll be really interesting.
The interesting thing too, and I know we overuse the word interesting. I think that's code for I don't want to say what I really have to say. Although this is actually slightly interesting. LSU and Alabama both today named starting quarterbacks for their opener. Kirby Smart did not. So I don't know if that's interesting or not. It's certainly different.
I don't think Kirby wants everyone to know. He certainly doesn't want Sam Pittman to know who the quarterback is. So I guess to each his own. So Alabama named theirs. Is that what you said?
Yeah, according to Wire reports that about 2 hours ago, Mac Jones, which was what we assumed, I think, in many ways.
Yeah.
Bryce Young not winning the job. But I think we've seen at Alabama and at Georgia that just because you're the starter in game one doesn't mean you'll be the starter when they're playing for the conference championship or the national championship.
If I'm a coach, I'm probably like, why name a starter 5 days before? I understand privately telling both quarterbacks what's going to happen, but to make it public like that, I don't know why you wouldn't just wait until game day like Kirby's doing. Kirby's thinking, why would I announce it right now? Because I want y'all to know that it's still a competition, and I don't know. But deep down, I think he knows it's probably going to be.
They have to know. I mean, If you don't,
he definitely knows.
Yeah, if you don't know right now, that's just hard for me to believe.
Yeah.
I bet you the kids know.
Yeah, for sure. But Kirby's not exactly the best at telling the media everything that's going on. So the last thing he wants to do, I think, is to tell us who the starting quarterback is. But I guess Nick Saban doesn't mind, doesn't care, and whoever else, the other team that you mentioned earlier, who named their starter.
LSU, the defending national champions.
Yeah, who is that? Miles Brennan? Is that who won the job?
Yeah.
I don't think he's all that great. I think Bryce Young might take that job from Mac Jones, though, before the season ends. I think that kid's really good. But
I wonder, for Kirby, I do want to talk about this just for a second, because this has been something that I've always wondered about. And you start talking about risk. You and I know a little bit about risk in starting businesses, because we sat there and at the start of this one, and there were hey, this has to happen. And you were like, oh, no, that'll happen. I'm like, well, it better, For Kirby and coaches, you consistently are dealing with risk. And the risk for Nick Saban to go to Tua wasn't good enough, I guess, until they had to in the second half of the SEC of the national championship game. The risk for Kirby was I guess he felt like it wasn't worth the risk to go with Justin Fields in 2018. What is the risk? I mean, what is the risk of not going with a Justin, of not going with, at this point, Dwan Mathis? There's also risk in not doing things too.
I don't know, but if I'm Kirby, I'm putting the guy out there who doesn't make mistakes, not the guy, the flashiest guy.
That's not going to be Mathis, I don't think.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know. I mean, like, there's so much we don't know, Matt, generally speaking, with these quarterbacks right now. And I don't think the kids know either. I mean, you can't tell me that Beck, Mathis, and Daniels really know what it's like to play in the SEC, because they haven't.
Yeah. I would go the safe route with this defense, with this new offense. You don't have to score 40 points a game. Yeah. But you can't turn the ball over. A pick six is detrimental. I mean, that's not what you want. You don't want turnovers. So I would probably save the flashy kid for when he's ready and put this safe guy in there who's not going to make mistakes. Maybe that is Mathis, but he seems like more of the flashier type, the guy who can maybe push the ball downfield and take off. So
I think anymore you don't get the chance to be safe. That it just is not. Mark Richt was a little too safe sometimes for me. And
I guess JT Daniels isn't really a safe option anyway, the way he throws it around, and
maybe not.
It's not exactly safe to put a freshman quarterback in there either. So,
Mathis gives a new dynamic that we have not seen a lot of at Georgia through the years.
Yeah, he can take off. I mean, there was a question on our board: how fast is he really?
Extremely.
G-Day 2019, he took off a couple times, and he was running through those defense before they blew the whistle, calling him dead. The guy can run. He picks up yards quick.
When you start watching, Jackson, Lamar Jackson at the Ravens, you're going, this is not just about his legs, although those are amazing. His arm angles, all that stuff. But people are scared to death of his legs, and they're scared to death of Deshaun's legs, in a way that they're not scared of Cam Newton's legs. I mean, the way that Cam Newton and Roethlisberger move, and by the way, I mean, Deshaun Watson's not a small person, but Roethlisberger and Cam Newton are giants, and they're not running for 25 yards. But with what Jackson and to some degree Russell Wilson, to some degree Mahomes, but specifically Watson and Jackson, what they can do frightens the defense, and it makes you be concerned about it, which gives you one more person that's worried about the quarterback. No one's really worried about Hudson Mason running. No one certainly was worried about Grayson Lambert running.
It's definitely a trend right now. You see in Arizona with Kyler Murray and what he's done the past two games. Russell Wilson does it with ease, and even Josh Allen up in Buffalo. Yes. You have to have a quarterback who can run.
Joe Burrow, for sure,
no doubt. Joe Burrow.
Burrow doesn't. I was going to say he doesn't escape like this, Lamar Jackson's the one that's the total freak in the bunch. He's the I would take him right now over Watson. I would take Mahomes number one, and then I would yeah, and then I would go with and then I would
go with Russell Wilson second.
Yeah, Russell Wilson's pretty good, man. But the whole thing, it will give a new dynamic. If Stetson Bennett were a taller person, I think this would. Well, I don't know if he would be at Georgia to begin with, but that is another those type of kids who can really make you pay Baker Mayfield with the legs. Joe Burrow is a guy that I think is going to be very hard to deal with over time in the NFL, and that's my suspicion. But now you're going to get to see. I mean, Mathis to some degree, Beck. Obviously, Beck is not like Mathis running it. Vandegrift, who I saw for the second time live Friday night, these guys are much more difficult to deal with when they're running.
Yeah, and Gunnar Stockton too, the kid going to South Carolina. All these kids can. You have to run if you want to be successful at every level. Now you can't just stay back there and throw it. The Peyton Mannings and the Tom Brady's, you're seeing less and less of those. Yeah. Matt Ryan, I love him. But yeah, one day it'd be nice to have a guy who can go back there and scramble and pick up 10 yards on a 3rd and 9, like a lot of these guys can do. And what Mathis is going to do a lot of this year. There's going to be plenty of 3rd and shorts, 3rd and mediums where he's looking at George Pickens, and if George ain't there, he's going to take off and run.
Well, he's got to play quarterback.
The game.
He's got to play quarterback. Yeah. I did want to, since you mentioned the Falcons and Matt Ryan and 10 yards, don't you think you just make the move there and just make a change?
I'm writing more about this in Final Feelings that'll come out this week. I'm going to just to tear him up, but it's so embarrassing. He should have been fired yesterday. Complete rebuild mode. Get rid of the GM, get rid of the coach, get rid of the staff. Trade Julio Jones for a 1st-round pick.
Well, that's not going to happen. Like he's not worth a 1st-round pick.
There's some dumb teams out there.
Okay, that's different. He's a 30.
There's a lot of dumb people out there.
He's a 30-something-year-old, receiver.
I think they could still do it with the right team, but no,
the Jags aren't that dumb. There's only so many really dumb franchises.
The Texans are dumb.
They're dumb. No, I mean, Lee Watson got his money, but I'm not. After watching them the other night, I'm not sure he ever reaches a Super Bowl with that franchise, with that coach and that GM.
No.
You don't think so?
They just made it tougher for him.
Not in that AFC, man. I mean,
it's brutal.
Mahomes alone is just
he looks like the best player in the NFL right now. I've got him in fantasy, so I'll watch both games. Tore up the Falcons. Like every quarterback will tear up this Falcons defense. So I said, okay, that's fine. But what he did against the Patriots last night, 5 touchdowns, was incredible. Yeah.
You like Wilson better than Mahomes?
He's playing better than he played better than Mahomes last week.
I would rather have Mahomes. I would rather have Mahomes. Period. But I certainly would rather have him now.
Year.
Yeah, I'd rather have him now because he's younger. He's younger too. What that's one more time. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was wondering to see Juwan Mathis when I was looking him up. I thought he was a sophomore, redshirt sophomore, whatever. He's a redshirt freshman.
Yeah.
He still has a long ways. This kid could have an NFL future if you have guys like David Pollock, Aaron Murray, and everyone else already.
Well, I mean, Aaron, Aaron doesn't do things. And if I were Carson Beck or if I were Mathis, I would be happy with what Aaron had to say 8 days ago about me, because I think that Aaron understands. I mean, the guy's been a professional football player. He's in broadcasting. Obviously, he was a 4-year starter at Georgia.
He knows the game.
In theory, could be considered the best college quarterback that Georgia's ever had. And he's not stupid. I mean, like, Aaron doesn't overdo stuff. I'm not talking about Pollock. David has always been hyperbolic in the ways he talks. Aaron's not that way. And Aaron, I think, and of course Aaron played the position as well. The thing for Mathis, man, is exactly what I just said, which is how much is he going to be able to play the position? That's what I'm kind of most concerned about, because playing the position it's probably 35% of being a quarterback.
Yeah. I think he's got the skill set, and he's young enough to where I can see him progressing each game if he continues to develop. I think he's going to make some freshman mistakes here and there. He's going to look bad at times. He's going to look great at times. But if he keeps improving game by game, I think the offense is going to go as DeJuan Mathis goes.
And if Daniels can't go, you roll Beck's ass in there and let him go too. I want to see what that's like too. Now though, I don't have much doubt, knows how to play quarterback, and that's the thing that I think for him, in this big pile of quarterbacks that Georgia's got that are young. The question is, who will the future be? Right now, it seems like it could be Mathis, but I just, over time, I don't think you make any certain bets. I mean, Jacob Eason, I remember the discussion in the recruiting world. I know those guys, and yes, they're hyperbolic. That happens in recruiting, but 3 years and out, man, it's it. Just 3 years and out. Everybody's convinced he's Matthew Stafford said this about him and all this. That guy's got to go play. And injuries happen, and just because you have what it takes in terms of physical ability doesn't mean that you're a certain bet to be a a first-round draft pick. For Jacob, I think that he completely lost. He essentially played 2 years of college football, if I'm not mistaken. 16 and then 17 he was out. 18 redshirted, and 19 he played. He's raw. He's completely raw. But everybody, I have grown less and less certain about certainty as I've gotten older. I've just seen too many really good prospects not be good at their school. And it's just, I've learned that lesson. I'm not sure if everyone else has. I did not think Trey Hill would be as good as he was over these last couple of years, and he's come on very quick. Defensive side, I think, is a little bit easier. I thought Monty Rice would be as good as he is, and he is.
Yeah, you talk about the 3-star guys over there. I mean, Georgia always signs the 5 stars. That's what they're known for. But you got 3-star Eric Stokes, 3-star Jordan Davis, 3-star Monty Rice, 3 of the best players on defense. These guys are developing. And if these 5 stars continue to develop, this defense is the best in the league each and every year. It already kind of is that way.
We've not seen the best of Zamir yet. We've just.
I was going to ask you this earlier. We know he can run through guys. We saw it against Baylor. He could bully dudes with his power. Is the speed you saw in high school, you don't think we'll see it this year? Is it gone?
Well, I don't know the answer to that. I think God knows the answer to that. Maybe Zamir and God and whoever's on the practice field.
Ron Corson, too. If he fixes that knee up the way he fixed up Nick Chubb's knee, maybe.
Well, that's just the thing here now. I mean, as I know, you're not guaranteed anything in life, and patience is something you have to learn over time. And for Zamir, I mean, what I saw going into that, was it 17? So he got here in 18. I'm getting confused with the years, but whenever
he tore the first one at the end of the 17 season in high school, and then he tore it again right before his freshman season.
19, right. The person I saw play, of course, I've never seen anything like that. Derek Brown was dominant, but this was just as a skill position person. And Mecole Hardman was playing quarterback, so that was hard. You could tell how fast he was. But and Jacob was amazing, but Jacob made mistakes. Zamir didn't make mistakes. Of course, he wasn't, a quarterback. But Zamir, the speed, he wasn't really breakaway. He was just extremely shifty, and he was very hard to tackle. I think it seems like he's adapted his game to more power. He was gifted in a way and special in a way the likes of which I've never seen. And
it was the shiftiness and the balance
was
what got him that 5-star ranking. you hope the shiftiness is still there. It doesn't look like how can it be there? How can that shiftiness still be there? I don't know if it just can from a physical standpoint, but
Well, the way he played against Vanderbilt wasn't so far from what I had seen, and that was pretty explosive. Um, and I don't want to. I think to some degree I've overdone those 13 carries or 13 whatever, but it was every single carry. Like you don't even see that. Like I by the way, I think Chris Milton's kid Kendall is gonna be hard to deal with too, and he's not dealing with a knee injury.
well, he's
out.
good to go, right? That's what
we don't know. We didn't ask Kirby. That's probably a Tuesday question,
Yeah.
but over time, Milton is going to be trouble as well. And Cook, the truth is, man, too, we don't know what we're kind of getting into here on the Georgia side of things. I mean, is this that Kirby and them are? How different is this offense, and does someone like James Cook fit into it better than Zamir?
Eventually, they're going to have to help DeJuan Mathis and pass blocking
Sure.
too. Can James?
That was
Cook
one
block?
thing. That was one thing. That was one thing Kirby was kind of talking about was that Herring would be in there or Swift.
Yeah, I think Zamir is tough and powerful enough to be able to block a blitzing linebacker. DeAndre Swift had his troubles here and there, but for the most part, I thought he did fine. Brian Herring really kind of excelled there. He was a really good blocker.
I think the thing to me, Matt, on the Zeus thing is I almost never call him Zeus. The thing on Zamir is that the seriousness by which he handled himself in high school was hard to forget, and the I don't know what the term is, but him being as motivated as he was at the time, and it's still seemingly transferring over. That's the thing I want to see. This is a guy that loves fashion, loves cars. He likes the details of those things, watches. Just go follow him on Instagram, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But
all the kids love fashion. That's what I'm learning more and more.
I don't think they like them like
There's
Zamir
a few.
does.
There are a few. Smile Munden, he's one kid who I think is on Zamir's level, and a lot of kids think they know fashion. You're right, probably not as much as Zamir.
I don't know if he knows it or not. I know that he's into it, and I am not, but I appreciate that because really that's about detail and intimate knowledge of something that most people don't care about. But for Zamir, I think he wants to escape. This is about escapism for him. He went where he grew up, Scotland County, that is not close to Athens. And that's a long, nasty little drive through the Carolinas. And he left a place that, is his home, but that he really wants to do better than as he grows older. I don't think he thinks he's better than other people. I just think he wants better for himself. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I am curious to see what all of those things do, and the fact that I'm assuming this is a fact that he's healthy completely. Those are things that I want to see.
If Zamir runs for 600, 700 yards, you still think it's his last year? Is that's been the plan from day one?
That has been the plan. What will be reality? I'm not going to sit here and act like I know what he's thinking or doing or what's going on in his life. He doesn't know what's going on in mine. So, but my assumption based on a couple of years of following that relatively closely and some conversations with other folks is that this will probably be his last year. I said 18 months ago or whenever it was when Fromm was coming off of his sophomore year, the junior year is probably his last year. And even through what I would call a horribly mediocre to bad junior year, he still left. And there's no doubt these guys have dreams. The dream involves Georgia for a moment or two, and then it's on to the NFL.
Yeah. And he'll always have the support of the Georgia Bulldog fan base.
Who's that?
The program. Zamir.
I think
he'll be
so.
loved everywhere.
Well, it's hard not to like him.
Right. So with this being his last season, it's hard to not pull for him with everything you have. I really hope
Right.
it works out for him. The kid absolutely deserves it. But he's going to need someone behind him for him to be his best. We think that's James Cook, but it could be Kendall Milton. Dejan Edwards is a guy we've actually
It could
heard quite
be
a bit
any. I
about.
mean, like apparently these are all 5, tote-worthy running backs.
Yeah, that's what they're telling us. I think they're right.
Kendall Milton,
Losing DeAndre Swift's speed I think, is a
yes,
big
that is
deal,
an
though.
issue now. Is McIntosh a guy that can do that for you? I mean, to some degree, you need a Terry Godwin. And what I mean by that is you need a guy who, when he's in there, he just kind of makes plays, and you don't even think about that person. Terry, before the halftime Auburn 2018, that play basically ended that game. The Notre Dame catch, touchdowns in the SEC championship game.
Against Florida.
The Florida catch. Terry was a 5-star guy. I don't think he's in the NFL right now. Probably means he won't have a career in the NFL. But he was pretty good at Georgia, and they're going to need that type of person at running back because if Zamir is going to play like he did a couple years ago, he's going to make people forget about DeAndre Swift. But I'm not sure that's coming, so we'll just see. That means
Brian Harrion was dependable. Wasn't flashy.
Yes, he was.
Made some plays here and there, but he was dependable and he produced when he was in there. They got to have another guy like that.
They do, and I think that they have enough people to where it will be just hard to deal with for other teams. Now, where are they going on the offensive line side of things? How does Warren McClendon or Owen Condon, how do they stack up at tackle against the best of the? I mean, the pass rushers in the SEC are the best athletes probably in the big athletes in college. I mean, maybe some basketball players, but those big guys, they're so hard to deal with. How are McClendon and Condon going to move their feet? How are they going to deal with things? There are questions. We have not talked about the defense at all, man. Yeah. Does that just mean we're not even?
Well, it could be another discussion for another time, but we would go on and on and on because it seems like everyone there makes plays. This should be one of the best defenses in school history. It was last year. I think they'll give up more than 2 rushing touchdowns this year. I don't know if that's just hard to do again, but talent, individual players, that defense is as good as, or it should be as good as we've seen in a long time.
Did they not give up those touchdowns because they never really got into position where someone in the run game could do that to them?
Bo Nix was an RPO. He took it and made one guy miss on the 3.
I remember that, but how did they stop? Could you just not run on Georgia? Was that what it was?
Really? No. Jordan Davis and Devonta White and Tyler Clark were in the backfield before you. I love Tyler Clark, man. That guy made more plays than people remember.
Wyatt is
he can move, man.
No, I know, side to side, no doubt. He's a hard to deal with guy. I mean, let's see what happens with Stackhouse over time. Zion Logue, I think, is someone that let's just see because for Zion, the body is there and the athleticism was to some degree, I think, better than you would expect from a defensive lineman. He redshirted last year. Let's see where he goes. And then, of course, Jalen Carter. People won't shut up. So
third and short situations, you got Jordan Davis, Devonta White, Trayvon Walker, and Malik Herring. Those 4 guys in the middle, and that's without Jalen Collar. I mean, that's you're not running on that group.
I mean, Herring really came. Herring and LeCount came on at the end of the season in a way that even people like me didn't think about. I guess because there were so many problems on the offensive side of the ball and the way that Fromm was playing that you sort of forgot things. I do. I'm just not sure, man, how Arkansas is gonna keep up with Georgia in a meaningful way. I think Auburn, Tennessee, they're both going to have problems with the Dogs. This is a good team, and unless there's weather, which I don't think there should be at the time, this should be a pretty big Georgia win. I'd be surprised if it were competitive at all, frankly.
The only team that might have more talent is Alabama, but even then, it's either a toss-up. If you want to go back and look at the recruiting rankings, I mean, it might say Georgia has a slight lead, but
I think they have better.
They're both right there.
I think they have better wide receivers, Alabama, and they may have the best running back. But I think the Alabama offense is better. I'm not sure that it's the best unit is the Georgia defense, and Mac Jones is not nothing. And we have a long way before the Alabama game, and we have several data points before that game. But what's the one thing you're looking to see out of this game as we wrap this up? What are you looking to see from the conference this weekend, generally speaking? And then what's the one thing that you're looking for from the Georgia-Arkansas game?
From the Georgia-Arkansas game, to get out of there with a clean win with no injuries. I mean, just looking what the NFL did yesterday, so many guys went down. I don't know if we're going to see the same type of deal in the SEC, more hard-hitting guys out there, but so many guys went down to major injuries in the NFL. I want to see Georgia have a clean game, get out there with a win, and not have anyone big go down. As far as the conference goes, I still think we're going to see a lot of sloppy play, especially from a lot of the mediocre and lesser teams in the SEC, just being week one. But I'd like to see some competitive games around the conference. Week one isn't all that great, but some good competitive, non-sloppy football is what I want. But I'm expecting a lot of kind of bad football offensively across the conference. But hopefully injuries across the board will stay low.
Yeah, I would not like to see injuries. These kids work too hard for that to have to creep up. But hey, man, things happen. There's not really much that you can do about it. Thanks for listening, everyone, to Riding Home and watching. Go to the website. We'll see you over there. Matt and Dean signing out. We'll see you on Dawg Post.